And this episode of the Yalabat podcast is brought to you by ErgoTune, makers of some kick-ass ergonomic chairs. Right now, Terrence and I are sitting on the ErgoTune Supreme V3. And Terrence, how does it feel, man?
I think it's pretty awesome, man. Like, they built this chair meant for people who spend a lot of time sitting in chairs for work, or like for us, we do a lot of editing and a lot of writing in our chairs, right? So they've really focused it on people like us who spend so much time in the chairs, and we are also based in a place called Singapore, where it's hot and humid all year round. So what about it that makes it special for people in Singapore?
Whenever I've bought chairs in the past, I hate chairs that have a kind of like a full backing with no holes. So when I saw this chair and there's a mesh backing, right, which means my back can breathe because I sweat pretty easily. I think everybody in Singapore sweats pretty easily. That was the first thing that sold me already. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this chair a shot because nobody likes to peel yourself off a sweaty chair, right? So that's one thing that I like. What about you?
I think that I love that it's got a lot of adjustment points, like way more than any other chair I've ever sat on. Such that you can really tailor it to how you like to do things. Like I'm quite specific about the angle at which I want my hand to be holding a mouse and everything. So I can literally adjust the armrest, adjust the headrest, adjust the lumbar support and everything. There's like 11 different adjustment points that you can individually tailor just to suit your body. I'm not like a small person, and I like to sprawl out of my chair sometimes. So
you like
you can imagine
men's spread.
Yeah, men's spread So you can imagine how much the chair has to do to accommodate someone like me, but also someone like Haresh as well, right? His size.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we like it. You can check them out at their website. The link is in the show notes, ergotune.com. And yeah, check it out and get some if you like. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Good old humor.
Good old humor. It's a midweek episode.
Yeah.
Now feels like how has your week been? Let me just put it out there. How's your week been?
Hectic. It's been hectic. A lot of house errands and all that to run. But I mean, it's just in Singapore now there's a huge COVID wave and everything going on as well.
Yeah,
I think we're talking about the 12,000 cases yesterday supposedly, and then so you it's kind of like a reminder that we're not out of COVID yet. There's still a lot of this nonsense going on.
Yeah, I felt something hit weird when I was walking out the MRT earlier today. I was like, okay, it felt for a moment that we are past COVID. Like, oh, we can look back at COVID. That was a weird few years, but now everything's back to normal. But then I remembered, I think even Ong Yi Kang is saying that, okay, we have peaked already, or we are near the peak. Then, it just hit me like what you said. It feels like we are out, but we are not. And I'm sure everyone has had some meeting or some social thing that has been kind of delayed because someone in the group got COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Confirmed.
So there's this, don't you feel there's this start-stop notion of everything you're doing in life? Should I plan my, big event, my wedding, whatever? Or should a company plan to do something big this quarter when the recession is supposedly coming? But the crypto market hasn't bottomed out yet. And all this kind of, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, basically. Even like COVID, should we be attending big concerts and exposing ourselves when there's 12,000 people a day getting COVID?
I wasn't even thinking about the uncertainty of planning a wedding at this time, Terrence. Thanks, Terrence.
Yeah. Yours is a certain. Your sentence has already been carried out already.
You just made me feel like, oh shit. I mean, it's 5 months away. But I think it's more like maybe last year or the year it was like macro start and stop like the whole country starts and stops. Yeah. Now I think it's like the hierarchy of starting and stopping is more when it comes to smaller events, smaller meetups, smaller gatherings.
Yeah. Basically, the responsibility has been distributed to the individual already
Oh yeah, right? Correct. Yeah.
So you decide for yourself how much you want to risk it.
Yeah.
There was a baby fair last weekend. And me and my wife, we rushed there with the throngs of people. But we made an executive decision not to bring our kid because our kid is not vaccinated at all, But there were a lot of people, and a lot of people who were carrying their toddlers and infants and with them. So it's depending on your risk appetite
And
how much you're willing to get through.
Even the past 2 weeks, we've gone for comedy shows by our good friends Rishi Budrani and Fakafaz, right? Amidst crowds of people. Yeah, it's just, and like when you say concerts, I mean, there are a lot of concerts that we are hearing about in Singapore in the coming months. Interesting times. I still think that COVID is more in the back of people's head, not at the forefront. Like people are still going about their day to day, right? Feels like it. Feels like
it, but yeah. Until you get it, then it's a different story. So let's all keep our fingers crossed.
But then there's also the next round of boosters that are coming up soon, right?
Yeah, but maybe the best booster to get now is just to get COVID already at this point. Everyone seems to be getting it already, so why wait?
Yeah, if you haven't got it, don't know, you feel like you're in the minority like that,
yeah. Yeah, what? Pure bloods.
Pure bloods, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But yes, are we ready to jump into these two non-COVID or non-COVID related issues?
No, I think we still need to just give our customary shout out to our subreddit, because I think we haven't shown the Reddit love in a while.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fun activity going on now. I think everyone's kind of like, now that we've gotten more back into the groove of things.
And we're not declining anymore.
Yeah, we're not declining anymore. People are coming back on and like, hey, I'm listening to you on my commute again. I'm back listening to you guys after I'm sick of like all the partying and Marquee and Clarke Quay. Now I'm back to like commuting to go to my job and I listen to you guys again.
Yeah.
So thankfully, a lot of people are coming on the Reddit, posting memes and just starting discussions, which you love seeing. It's so fun.
Yeah, man.
Even telling us what their one shock thing is of the week, what their one shock thing is and how it corroborates with other one shock things and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're curious, the link is in the show notes. Check it out. We got a lovely community there. But let's jump into it, man. This is hot off the back of the parliamentary session yesterday.
Yes.
What
is this headline?
The first headline, and I will read out the headline specifically. It is Jamus Lim and Alvin Tan spar over response to cost of living issues. So, yeah, there was a parliamentary debate yesterday, and basically it was about the issue of cost of living. But the main thing that a lot of the articles focus on was Jamus Lim's proposal to strengthen the Singapore dollar, and then Alvin Tan's response against that. But what made you want to talk about this? Because it's quite technical. It's quite technical. I remember reading up for it. I was like, holy shit, I need to read it again.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is technical in the sense that Jamus Lim is an econs PhD. And he's, pushing forward a very macroeconomic driven proposal or simple sounding solution to it's a very big problem we're all facing, right?
Yeah.
And Alvin Tan's also a new and up and coming minister, right? So he has to also respond to Jamus Lim's suggestions and on behalf of MAS and on behalf of the government as well. So it's two of the younger MPs, I guess, the new blood of the two main political parties in Parliament going at it over a very big issue that's affecting everyone's wallets right now,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the one thing is that I just found it funny that the headline was that they sparred over this. I have this image of them just wearing the 300 Spartan warrior thing, then like fighting or something. And then I watched the videos of what they actually were talking about, and like, this is not sparring, this is like presenting your research paper at some UN mock UN conference, that kind of thing. It's hardly sparring. Come on, like guys, let's Have you seen sparring in like UK parliamentary debates or anything like that? Or even like when Shanmugam was sparring with the BBC Hard Talk presenter, that is sparring lah.
No, or even
is hardly sparring.
In Singapore's parliament also, we have had Leong Man Wai with a whole host of ministers, and MPs, right? But yeah, the sparring thing, because okay, the first thing I tried to look up was, after reading articles, was the video on YouTube lah, and there's only
I tried to find a wrestling match between Jamus and
I was like, then I saw only a 1 minute plus excerpt that was a Straits Times piece lah. Then I was like, okay, maybe they didn't show the sparring, Then you sent me the one that was uploaded to the CNA website, and you watch it, and holy shit, it was 15 minutes Jamus Lim talking, no, 20 minutes maybe. And then Alvin Tan 10 minutes, and then all right, thank you. Maybe that's how they go for kickboxing or Muay Thai training. They just one punch, the other person punches back once, and okay, good training, guys. We're done for the day. We're done for the day.
They don't even like punch each other's face. They're punching like boxing the pads and all that.
Yeah, that's why. And I mean, it's Straits Times with the article lah. Like I think. Even CNA, strengthen Singapore dollar, raise CPF interest rates temporarily to address rising cost of living. Quote from WP's Jamus Lim. So, yeah lah, this one is spar. Like, what kind of sparring the Straits Times do even internally, man? Maybe that's their sparring when they decide what things to cover and whether this article should go. One person says one thing, the other person says one thing, and they're like, guys, we need to take a break. That was intense, man. That was fucking intense.
Maybe the journalist, like, was like, like you said, I was like, oh my god, mic drop moment for both of these guys. After watching that, and I was like, okay lah, doesn't really do it for me lah. I wouldn't consider this in the realm of
sparring,
But I would say, I guess it's interesting because they're both young faces that represent their political parties.
Can you imagine
a
Taiwanese politician, in their parliament where they really spar, like physically spar? They click on it just like, yo guys, come on, man. But the title worked lah, because it was the first article I clicked on.
Yeah. It brought us into this discussion about larger economic issues lah, right?
Yeah.
But just aside from how it was presented and all that, what do you think of Jamus Lim's presentation of this solution and everything?
Yeah. So caveat is like, I am by no means an economic expert. I'm just a layperson trying to make sense of the news. But
you studied econs, right?
I did like 2 classes, micro and macro.
But you graduated from business school and everything also, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean shit when it comes to understanding economic policy. Yeah, anyone who goes to business school and didn't major in finance or economics and says, oh, they understand the world just by virtue of getting the degree, fuck off, okay? No, you can understand Let me
add to that, even if you got a degree in finance or whatever, it still means that you don't really understand a lot.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean shit. It's just trying to make sense of what is out there. Because the nice thing about these things in Parliament being streamed or shown or videoed and released online is because you get a sense of the discussion. So, broadly, he covered, it's not an inflation issue, it's a cost of living issue. And he talked about...
Can we talk a little bit about that? What's the difference between an inflation issue and a cost of living issue?
I think...
What's he trying to say there?
Yeah, so what I gathered was that, okay, inflation does result in cost of living increasing, but it's just one of many things that are contributing to this bigger problem. It's like at the core, like you say inflation, okay, but people don't really, it's hard to say, oh, I'm suffering from the impact of inflation, because it feels like you're a distance away. But cost of living, it's a lot more easy to understand. It's a lot more direct, and it does talk about things that are caused not just by inflationary pressures. The war in Ukraine, it's contributing to rising costs, but it's more with the supply chain disruption and all, right? So that was what I gathered from it. But like for you?
Yeah, my understanding was that what he was meaning to say was that inflation can and most likely is caused by factors external to your own, your own economy and all that. That means like, let's say war going on in Russia, like one-off very big events. But cost of living is more of a correction of of the, the actual cost of living in Singapore, lah, as a cosmopolitan city where coffee shops are being sold for $40 million and things like that, lah. And a lot of this inflation, it can rise, it can fall, everything, and you can read about it in the newspaper. But cost of living in general, in Singapore especially, has been trending upwards across everything, lah, right, in general, very, very sharply in the last 20 years. So I think that's what he's saying, is that we need to address this head on as a cost of living issue, and not just, you wait for something for the war to tide over, or for stuff to recover before we actually talk about this issue, lah. Right. So I think one interesting thing is that none of them, Jamus Lim raised this problem of cost of living, and there was no dispute that there's a cost of living issue going on in Singapore, lah, right? I think on Alvin Tan's side, he's just saying what MAS is doing to address these inflationary pressures and all that. Yeah. And that they're planning long term, blah blah blah. That's what you would need to say, lah, right? To make people feel assured about things. But that's one interesting thing that I saw, lah.
Yeah. That's how Jamus sort of set the context for what he was going to say, lah. But essentially, he was talking about, like, if I just go over briefly, it was talking about how there's this rising cost of living, which, like what you said, is caused by just internal and external issues within the country. And the one thing that he recommends we do is to strengthen the Singapore dollar, lah. Like 10, 15 years ago, you told me strengthen the Singapore dollar, I'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But essentially, it is just allowing its value to be, increasing its value with regards to other currencies, lah. Because right now, let's say the exchange rate for Singapore to ringgit is like 1:2 point something. If you strengthen it, it'll be 1:3 point something.
Yeah. I think that is valid because, for example, you saw during COVID, we've seen a lot of people moving from, a lot of rich people moving from other Southeast Asian countries to come to Singapore, right? Because they felt like Singapore's healthcare system was safer and the government had things under control. So I think if you talk to a lot of finance people, they'll tell you that, a lot of like rich family offices have opened up in Singapore in the last couple of years, lah. So it's telling you that essentially rich people are moving here, they're parking more money here. So our currency is they need our currency, lah, right, to just do stuff around Singapore. So just based on that, it's almost like they trust Singapore so much, so they should also trust Singapore's currency. So there's what Jamus is probably suggesting is that given that there's this level of inherent trust in Singapore's economy and Singapore's currency, so we should just let it rise, let it rise to a level where it properly reflects the inherent trust that people have in the Singapore currency, lah. Yeah.
And how that will impact or bring down the cost of living is because, like, let's say vegetables and even like chickens, when we were importing chickens, we get a lot of it from other countries, right? So if you strengthen the Singapore dollar, you can kind of get more bang for buck, because if a chicken costs, I don't know, like 300 ringgit previously, if we increase it, it might cost, we might be able to get 1 point something chickens, or a chicken for cheaper, if the Singapore dollar increases. So when I was listening to it, I was like, everything he says kind of makes sense. Because he said that ultimately, if it decreases the cost of imported goods, then cost of living in Singapore also will go down temporarily, And he did say, he said there's a lot of evidence that the Singapore currency is undervalued. He didn't go into the evidence. So at the end of his 20-minute spiel, he talked a lot of things that, as a layperson, I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. And that's why when Alvin Tan came, I felt he didn't really rebut anything, Right.
One thing after I heard Jamus Lim's speech was that I felt like, this feels like it makes a lot of sense, and it feels like the economics lecture that I listened to in JC lah. When shout out to Jamie Reeves, the very famous RJC econs lecturer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff makes sense, and why aren't we already doing stuff like that lah? But that's the thing. See, I don't know enough to think about the nuances of letting our currency just appreciate like this lah. I mean, there are issues with obviously tourism will be affected, right? If your currency becomes stronger, our exports also become more expensive to people overseas.
Yeah.
And people wanting to invest in Singapore will have to cough up more money lah, right? On their own side lah. So there are other impacts that letting your currency just rise will have lah, that affect even small businesses and all that in Singapore as well,
Yeah.
It's I don't know, man. Just the fact that I listened to it, I was like, that makes sense. And then the fact that I realized, I know nuts about this issue. It made me like, made me a bit worried that am I giving it too much credit already, lah?
No, I think what you said is exactly what I was feeling, but you put it into words. It's like, I could have thought of that. And if I could have thought of that, it's probably not a good idea.
It probably doesn't sound like the best idea.
Yeah. And I mean, so that's where I was hoping that Alvin Tan would kind of like, I mean, to Jamus's credit, he did talk about other things like increasing the interest rate for CPF payouts by for 6 months, so that the older generation whose value has been built up over the years, they don't lose their spending power lah. Which again makes sense. So that's where I was like, okay, this was like what you said, an econs lecture for something that you can imagine like a econs paper, you write it lah. So, but then when Alvin Tan came up and he talked, he basically, I think, gave a lot of credit to the Singapore government for helping us tide through COVID and how our long-term monetary policy has done well. Our GDP still grew by, I think, 1% in 2020 when a lot of other countries were shrinking, and that the currency was strengthened last October and blah, 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 blah. And then that finished. So then I was like, yo, man, it still seems like a good idea. Is there no reason to explain why it is not a good idea? And in fact, I found reading like Reddit comments more enlightening because I mean, quite a few on Reddit also must take with a pinch of salt, because sometimes people say, Jamus Lim is an economics professor. He knows what he's talking about. But knowing the theory versus actually working in the policy maker's office, setting monetary policy, two very different things lah. Then of course some people shit on Alvin Tan saying, what finance background does he have? But ultimately, I would like to hear from someone from MAS lah. Kind of explain why these ideas put out are not the best idea. Yeah. So what was your expectations when Alvin Tan took the mic?
My expectation, I know he's. I mean, I understand that he's not a PhD in economics or anything like that either, lah. Right? So to expect him to be able to point for point rebut what Jamus Lim was saying, would be tough, lah. But I mean, I would still. Love to hear a more technical breakdown of what Jamus Lim is suggesting, right? In a sense of just understanding where MAS policy is at and where they see how they see cost of living moving in the next 1-2 years in Singapore, right? Because it really is everything that we're doing, we're affected by rising prices, really. Whether it's you're going to pump petrol at the station, or even your normal cai peng as well, or the cost of your coffee and things like that. Everything is going up lah. So it's a real issue, and I don't think just saying that trust the government, we know what's best, and the status quo is fine. I don't think that's the most convincing argument either. As we discussed, like we're so perplexed by how a coffee shop owner can buy a coffee shop for $40 million and expect to make back the money without supposedly without increasing prices, right? We even spent a good half hour discussing that the last time round, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a very I mean, it may be a very complex, nuanced topic, but I don't think it can just be swept under the carpet so easily without people asking more questions.
Yeah, and I mean, like even as I'm looking through some of the things that Alvin Tan said, there's nothing specific that was with relation to exactly what Jamus Lim said. Like it was a lot about how Singapore's current round of combined fiscal and monetary policy responses are expected to contain medium-term inflation without significant loss of output or inadvertently add to the underlying tightness of the economy. And you look at that sentence, it essentially means that their policy it's meant for to keep things going, and not make things worse.
Yeah.
But
exactly the status quo, right?
Yeah, the status quo. So even when we were deciding which topic to talk about, right, I already knew that this is not going to be something that I'll be able to debate or like, counter Jamus Lim's points or say Alvin Tan is wrong,
Yeah.
But what made you want to talk about it then?
No, I think it's just the way they have framed the problem.
Yeah,
is interesting. I mean, it's that's why we voted in. You kind of vote in an opposition party, right? To ask these questions. Are we too easily framing the problem as is inflation is just part of the normal course of things, but we need to carry on with increasing GST. We need to carry on with increasing. I mean the increasing your productivity and things like that, right? As you know, that means is anyone looking at this situation and thinking like, hey, this could get out of hand, or are we just like, let's wait until something bad actually happens, then we'll react, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think Singaporeans are asking for more assurance of that. Because I mean, it seems like that was tabled like raising GST. Is that a good time? Then they say, we really have no choice and we need to think long term. But how do you think long term when people are really suffering now, right? And what's being planned to help alleviate the suffering at this moment,
Yeah, and I think for me, I was keen to talk about this partly because the more people talk about it, even if it's trying to understand it, right, I am optimistic that it will lead to more conversations or more attention being given to it, and I think it's important that everybody also just try and understand these broad terms, and also that when you hear a parliamentary debate or you read an article, it doesn't just the default response shouldn't be like, okay, we trust the government to do this, because they have done a lot of good things, but it still needs to be challenged, and I think like another topic that was discussed by Shanmugam was the thing about prisons, the state of Singapore prisons. And if you watch his speech, he starts off by saying that it's become an issue that's talked about more and more, and he specifically cited the CNA documentary done about prisons. And when I heard that, I was like, oh shit! Like I know quite a few people recommended it to me as well, and this was a show done by CNA, which is a media house, but it got so much public attention that it resulted in more conversations about it, and it resulted in Shanmugam himself saying that he wanted to take this opportunity to address it. And I think that was so cool to see. So I think, even people listening to this podcast, if you haven't kind of like broached this topic, hopefully this is like a entry point for you to like, this kind of things are being discussed because it is super important.
Yeah.
Super important.
I think what you're saying is being a bit more proactive or preemptive in some way to these questions that will be brought up, right?
You mean as a listener?
Like what they did for prisons, right?
Yeah.
It was, I don't think, I mean, people watch the CNN documentary, there were questions asked, but it's not, say, at the foremost of everyone's minds at the point. But Shanmugam said that he wanted to raise it because there would be some questions from the community, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially given the discussions about death penalty and how we treat our prisoners and everything.
Yeah, and in some way, like prisons, we don't know what happens behind prisons, but it's so easy to not think about it. And in same way, the monetary policy, fiscal policy, if you're not in finance, you just care about the shit around you getting more expensive. right?
Correct. Yep.
And then you
That's
wonder
all you
what
see.
the fuck is going on. And I think just trying to understand it a bit more is useful, and hopefully we just told you like, hey, this is an interesting topic for you to find out more about. And of course, if anyone has thoughts to explain what the speech was about, where we maybe got some things wrong, our Reddit is the best place to do that.
Yeah. All the economists, please come out of the woodwork and let us know what you think of Jamus's side of things. Because I don't have access to PhD level economist in my immediate circles, so I can't like, hey, what do you think of this? I have a lot of friends in finance, but I mean, I wouldn't trust them about a lot of macroeconomic stuff.
But you love bringing up this kind of hot button issues at dinners with them, right? Just bring up.
I like just to hear their responses and understand. But they all have different incentives. They a lot of them, some of them are they're hedged against the economy and stuff like that. So they have different incentives, and then they'll tell you a lot of different things based on what the incentives are.
Yeah. Because even the example you gave earlier, like foreign companies looking to set up shop in Singapore or set up HQ, or Dyson coming to Singapore and all, a big reason is because the currency is not extremely strong, or maybe not as strong as it could be, right? So all that kind of things come into play, and that's something that Alvin Tan pointed out also. By attracting foreign investments, we create jobs for Singaporeans in the long term, which is true, but it just needs to be challenged or revisited or talked about more.
Yes, correct.
Cool.
But speaking of status quo.
Yeah, correct.
It's also kind of related. I mean, it's all related also. This the inflationary
same
pressures.
parliamentary.
We already talked about it. Yeah. What is the second topic we're talking about?
And there's a reason why we selected it as the second goofy topic, not the serious one. Essentially, the headline reads, "Controlling rent of coffee shop stalls might deter owners from improving." And this was by 4G leader Desmond Lee, also in parliament.
Yeah.
So this title also, I read it, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah.
Who is controlling the rent? Is it the coffee shop stall owners or the rent being controlled by the landlord, which is deterring people from improving if you control the rent? And I was like, what the fuck is this? What is he talking about? What is he smoking?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the coffee shop issue in our last podcast.
Yeah.
And I think we really put it out there asking what can be done or what needs to be done, right? To sort of ensure that these communal spaces don't end up just eventually being like some atas cafe that only a few people can afford to go to, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of calls for the government to step in to control the prices that these coffee shops are sold, or if not, just the rent that the stall tenants have to pay. So in this case, he's specifically referring to the coffee shop owner. Okay, he's the person who owns the entire coffee shop, and not the coffee shop stalls. So if I understand correctly, the rationale for him is that if you don't allow the rents to go up by market forces and all, where the coffee shop owner can recoup some of the cost of running the coffee shop, there wouldn't be an incentive for the coffee shop owner to improve the facilities of the coffee shop, which is enjoyed by the coffee stall tenants.
Yeah.
Right. That's essentially what he's saying.
Yes, correct.
And despite my lack of economic theory knowledge, that just sounds fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say, if you thought our earlier discussion of our earlier characterization of Jamus Lim's points as feels like very basic econs, right?
Yeah.
This one is even worse. It's a lot worse.
This is like pull the shit out of my ass kind of econs, man. And I mean, he was also responding to a written question by Nee Soon Group Representation Constituency Member of Parliament. Oh, that's a long title. Carrie Tan. Where basically, she asked if there were any plans to control rents. So, I mean, and this was directly because of the sales of the coffee shop that we spoke about. So, I don't even know how to. It doesn't even feel debatable. Right.
I mean, let's just break down what Desmond Lee was saying, right? He said, according to this Yahoo article, he says, in considering rent control measures, Lee cited the need to guard against unintended impacts. And the example he raised is, for example, by controlling rent, we could end up reducing the incentive for coffee shop owners to invest in improving their coffee shops to provide better services and facilities to customers. So essentially, he's saying that if we don't allow them to charge higher rents, then they will be less motivated to invest the money back into improving the coffee shop and to provide better facilities and customers to better services and facilities to customers.
Like the toilets lah. Say you want cleaner toilets. Basically,
correct.
you need to. So if I have the toilet in a coffee shop, it sucks. And you tell me, okay, to get the toilet better, I'll have to pay 50 cents more for the food. I can sort of understand that, right?
Yeah.
But maybe because this one, it felt like from the get-go already, is telling them, okay, you can charge whatever rent you want, because hopefully it would translate to better facilities lah. As opposed to like, okay, the toilet is fucked up, you need to improve the toilet. There needs to be a cost of it lah. It's almost like giving like a blank check, eh?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's what is probably very shocking or galling to everyone is that the word on what we're hearing on the ground, or even through our own discussion on our podcast, is that rents are literally being doubled, right? For the store owners. And if you're saying if the rent is doubled for the store owner, does the customer experience become twice as good? You know? Even if you improve the toilet, does that mean my customer experience eating at a coffee shop has become twice as good? And maybe we are, we're caricaturing it by saying that it's a linear relationship between how shook your coffee shop is and how high the rent is there. But how much more can a coffee shop, how much more do we need a coffee shop to be improved that the rent needs to be doubled that to improve? What are they improving? Because I don't know, I've been to coffee shops with those robot servers, those Chinese robots that come out and then they're just basically glorified tray carriers on wheels
Yeah.
And like, is it necessarily faster or slower or what? And does it make me feel like this is totally worth the store owner paying double the rent? I don't know but I don't know what else do you think that can be improved in your neighborhood coffee shop that requires them to double the rent?
I'm just thinking of what other experiences I've had in a physical location where I go once, then I go after renovation, and I tell you, Terrence, that was 100% better than my last visit. Twice as good. Like, okay, if it's even if it goes from 6 stalls to 12 stalls, right? Doesn't mean it's 200% better, right? Correct. 100% better. So it just feels like, the way this was communicated, maybe there might be bigger reasons, right? But if you're using this as your argument in Parliament, hello, even a layperson like me goes like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And I think in Reddit, there's a lot of jokes about, so I should go and tell my boss, like, if you don't increase my salary, then my performance also might be disincentivized to perform, or improve my work performance, right?
That's like,
is a totally valid analogy to what he's using to defend the property owner, right?
Because in some way it's like the government telling SME owners, small business owners, saying that we won't prevent you from lowering the wages you pay your staff, because otherwise it will disincentivize improvements to your office lah.
Yeah.
Right. If you're saying, you want aircon in the office, no aircon, sorry, your salary has to go down. Because ultimately you increase the rent of a stall, you are decreasing the income of the stall tenant lah, right? So whatever way you try and shape this, like, even I was looking on Reddit, at least the one for Jamus Lim and Alvin Tan, you could see arguments for both sides lah. This one, this is like filler content in the parliaments,
Yeah, and I guess I think it's you and I, after the discussion we had about the coffee shops thing, it's just disappointing that this is the official response.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we no choice but to, let them do whatever the hell they want to do, because if they don't we don't let them do what they want to do, then maybe they won't.
No incentive.
There's no incentive to do well already lah. To make things better. Then I mean, there's like laissez-faire economics to the nth degree already, right? You just let them do whatever the hell they want to do and raise rents and everything. So it's just I would say nothing short of disappointing, considering that Desmond Lee at one point was also a candidate for Prime Minister,
Yeah, exactly.
Remember? At one point he was in the running. So I'm like, wow, I don't know if this was really badly communicated, or wasn't thought through very well, or they're just trying to, just stall for a moment while trying to find a solution or something. But it doesn't breed a lot of confidence that they're actually looking for a solution, right?
Yeah. And it's just like a deflector, a distraction, saying that, okay, I mean, there's no, like, prices are going to increase. And at some point, I think everyone can accept that prices of hawker stall food and hawker food is going to increase. But when the reasons are kind of defended by arguments like this, right, it makes you go like, yo, man, Desmond.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Do a better job explaining. Come on, Desmond.
Better, yeah.
Do better, correct.
Better. And this wasn't like a speech, or it was a response in written form somehow,
Yeah, exactly.
So it must have been drafted and vetted and everything as well. So I was just like very disappointed that all the discussion, just led to this statement from the Minister of National Development.
So then I wonder, because Kerry Tan is also PAP, right?
Correct.
Right. Then PAP asked him, then I don't know whether after the meeting, at the next PAP meeting, Desmond goes to Kerry like, yo man, Kerry, what the fuck, man? What you have to ask this kind of question? Right. And
no, I mean, I think they sort of operate like if I'm not wrong, I would assume that they operate a bit like how a volleyball team kind of does.
Oh yeah.
Sort
that
of
makes sense.
set each other up for what the final spike, right? To kill off discussion, or to solve the problem. So in some ways, them having these questions is not a bad thing for them to try and address these issues, lah.
Yeah.
And then it also covers the backside, saying, oh yeah, we also check oneself, right? We ask the questions of each other.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so just thinking about the validity of Desmond's point, I mean, there is you can see some logic there, lah. If you're telling, if you are really setting a ceiling for how much rent they can charge their stalls, it will be tough to maybe invest in the coffee shop, right? It's the same way in a business. Even for, like, let's say, even for us, for Folklore or for Yalabat, we have also increased our prices of our ads, right? Because we want to build a team, get better equipment and all that. So it's totally valid. But I think when saying it like that, it almost feels, okay, then there should be some sort of controls in place, or some sort of assurance that, okay, things won't spiral out of control. Maybe it was because it was left, like, there's no ceiling. There's nothing that gives us some assurance that, okay, while they are free to charge their rent based on their whatever business needs and all, it's not going to spiral out of control, especially in this climate where things seem to be just going up and up and up. Come on, Desmond.
Yeah, I think what you're getting on is about the fact that HDB privatized these coffee shops within the estates.
Yeah.
And they basically sold them out there, and rather than control them themselves, they actually sold them. And they just made it a very strange situation, right? Where a communal space is now a privatized communal space within the estate. And it's not owned or run by people who have any interest in seeing the estate, in providing for the estate, or helping the estate, or seeing the estate blossom or what lah.
Yeah.
And that's the big issue.
And can you imagine, like, maybe 10 years down the road for whatever tech unicorn that comes out of Singapore, the status claim for the CEO of that company, instead of buying GCB, right, is like, yo, man, he bought a Sengkang coffee shop. Oh, shit.
That's the flex. That's the flex.
That's the flex. Fuck, he bought a Sengkang coffee shop.
Coffee shop. Oh,
my
shit.
God. Walao, his company doing damn well, yeah. Oh, then the other guy, Bidok coffee shop. Wow, siala, that one big money, man.
One after another.
Big money, bro.
Like the Razer CEO, which coffee shop do you own? Which coffee shop do you own? Then they're having all their meetings at the coffee shop rather than like the expensive buildings.
Then like Tan Ming Liang and his Razer, he'll make the whole hawkers coffee shop like tech focus. And then, you know,
green and black theme.
Yeah, then the Secret Lab coffee shop, all the chairs, all Secret Lab. You know, all the chat. Yeah. Then like Anthony Tan, you can only pay by Grab Pay. Right.
Yeah. Which is like probably the case already at a lot of coffee shops.
Yeah, Shopee, all like the C, Garina, all fucking all gonna own their coffee shops.
Yeah. But I guess if anyone thinks that what he's saying is valid, you know, do correct us or let us know why on our subreddit. I would love to understand you know, why we're being stupid, if we are being stupid.
Yeah.
And if it's just a real simple solution staring at us in our face that we're not seeing.
Yeah. Or maybe maybe the solution does make sense, but it's just helping Desmond with the backup, the backup. But come on, Desmond.
Yeah. Let's put in more effort to the comm side of things.
Yeah, man.
But speaking of the communication side of things,
yes.
What is your one short comment of the last couple of days?
My one short comment. Wait, let me pull it up. If you'd like to go first.
Yeah, my one short comment actually is I think someone tagged us as Ministry of Funny on our recent Instagram. I think it's the account Wings Collective.
Okay, that was going to be mine, but you go ahead. I got another one.
It's Wings Collective on Instagram. I think he's someone who is a fan of the podcast, obviously, but also you know, he enjoys drawing his own characters, and he's drawing a comic, I believe, called Ascendant, a web comic, and he has sketched out 2 characters where he based the character design on Harish and Terence from Yalabat. So it's pretty awesome. Like, he has it on his I think is his public page, right? And he tagged us in it, and it looks pretty cool. Like, it's literally like I would say a cat version of me and a elf version of Harish. And there's more than just one sketch like that. Like there's also a sketch of us quarreling or talking about something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome, this comic. Yeah. So shout out to Wings Collective.
Yeah. And like, I mean, just I saw it also, I was like, oh shit, is that like kind of a bit of us in it? And it blew my mind, man. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, man. And go check out his account. He does some super cool illustrations. Show him some love, man. Show him some love.
Yeah, show him some love.
Yeah.
But, yeah, cool. I was really like, wow, this is pretty awesome, man. That they base the character designs on the personalities here on Yalabat. Yeah.
Exactly.
Except I would say probably Harish's eyes need to be a bit further apart, right? Further apart.
Yes, correct. Further apart. Exactly. Based on a lot of YouTube comments. Further apart. Yes, correct. Further apart.
And if you think I'm shitting him, I mean, I totally, I find it pretty funny. Is I also got the Journey to the West vibes from seeing this as well. Where Harish is the Sun Wukong, the monkey god. When mine is more like the Chupatie, the pig character, just in terms of the size. But I'm okay with that. It's not an insult to me. Pigs are cool. Pigs are cool too.
Yeah, man. Pigs are smart.
Yeah.
But not bad. You got a bit. You can see your pecs. You can see your pecs.
Yes. Still got pecs, even though very big size. Yeah.
Still got pecs.
Yeah.
Cool,
but
man.
Yes.
Yeah. My one short comment is a comment on our podcast 306 about the coffee shops. It was by The Fallers. And yeah, they said they've been a listener to Yalabat for over 2 years. And the last thing they expected to hear was a mention of their good friend Surath, who was, I think, we mentioned it because of the context was local music.
Yeah. Because they're talking about Jeff Ng. Yeah.
Yeah. So this commenter was saying like he or she was the person who recorded that live performance that we talked about, that video of Surath covering a Bryan Adams song that has more videos than the Bryan Adams music video itself.
More views.
More views. And that this person was a regular at Walla Walla. So why I think is my one show comment of the week, because first of all, it's just cool that people are referencing something from the podcast. But I love it when we kind of give a shout out on our podcast and it ends up reaching the person that we kind of gave a shout out to, or someone who knows them or something like that. I fucking love that shit, man. So to see it come full circle always makes my day, man. So yeah, shout out to you, man. The Fallas.
Shout out. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think Surath and his band, they're already performing at like Timber Plus and everything. You know, since things have opened up. So yeah, if you want to check them out, you can do that, man.
Cool, man.
Yeah, cool. So what is your one shook thing?
My one shook thing is a YouTube video that I watched that is from the YouTube channel that I can never pronounce. You know, the Kurzawat or something?
Kurzguts. So yeah.
Kurzguts. Yeah. So I'm trying to pull it up now. Like it is. Wait, excuse me while I Google the exact title. But this channel, they've got like 18 plus million subscribers, and they do beautiful video essays talking about, just exploring very interesting ideas or topics. I think previously a one show thing that I mentioned was the video they made about the first 12 minutes after the comet that wiped out the meteors after it hit Earth, and they just animated it. But this video, their most recent one, was about it's titled The Last Human Born. And it is The Last Human, a glimpse into the far future. And it's a 12-minute video, but the premise is they just looked at, how many humans have been born since the first human was documented like 200,000 years ago, and how many more humans could be born in the future, assuming that we live for, I don't know, 1 million years as a species, 100 million years, or 500 million years. And it's fucking mind-blowing, because the main takeaway, right, is that even if we assume at the lower end of the spectrum 1 million years, which is the time that I think dominant species have remained alive before going extinct over the past, since life appeared on Earth. Humans as a species have been around for 200,000 years, right? And I think we went from 0 to 2 million humans in 150,000 years. Then the last 50,000 years, we have gone from 2 million to 8 billion. So the video just says that, regardless of how you look at it, if we just carry on living for a conservative 800,000 more years, right? Our generation now is at the very early part of the human species, which is quite like an epiphany, because every time we hear, the end of the world is near and we are the ones going to destroy the earth and all that. But if we carry on living, assuming technological advances, we are going to be like in the first 1% of all humans who were ever born. And then the video goes on to explore, what if we can colonize other planets? What if we can go out of the solar system? Maybe we live for another 500 million years. We just become like this, like the founders of the human species now.
Yeah.
And it's fucking mind-blowing. And you walk away, you're like, oh shit. We are so early in human civilization, and just made me feel nice.
Yeah. That's the cosmic perspective for you.
This is similar to that, right?
Yeah, the cosmic perspective of life.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. Fucking cool. But
the question is, I guess the interesting thing is that rather than make you feel like useless and completely insignificant about anything, it can actually be quite empowering also. The converse, it makes you feel you are part of a larger movement. In fact, the founding part of a
humans,
movement.
And in some way, like every generation will always be the founding humans or something. When we first, colonized another planet, that generation will be like the first human generation to go out of Earth, which is amazing. And just like what you say, like a cosmic perspective, it gives you some sort of, it's just a nice perspective. So that was a great video. What about you, man?
Yeah. Speaking of like cosmic perspective, this is once in a only maybe once in the cosmos kind of event that happened. Where there are videos of it that were captured where at a Backstreet Boys concert in Toronto, Drake appeared during the finale while the Backstreet Boys were singing "I Want It That Way," and he basically featured on that song or "I Want It That Way" because so you see a lot of headlines saying Drake has a nostalgic moment on stage with the Backstreet Boys. Because he didn't really sing or anything. He just came on and was like a hype man while he was singing the song.
Oh.
Yeah, but he before that he said that the song meant a lot to him because at 13 years old at his bar mitzvah, for the first time in his life, the girl that he was in love with came up to him while one of the greatest songs in the world was playing and asked me if I would dance with her. And that song was "I Want It That Way" by the Backstreet Boys. So it's pretty funny that to see Drake and the Backstreet Boys on stage together, and Drake talking about his 13-year-old, how he was in love with some girl when he was 13 years old. And, it's just, those two worlds colliding is quite funny. Like hip-hop and 90s pop and everything. So there are a lot of funny comments about it, but also just a lot of people just found it very heartwarming, that Drake was also just so open about his 13-year-old crush and all that kind of things, and what songs they were listening to back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got no one shit on him for any other reason. Saying, 13 already, you having these feelings for a girl or something like that. No backlash at all.
No backlash. I think it was a feel-good moment in music history.
Wow, that's cool, man. Yeah, Backstreet Boys they're still touring Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. I think they're touring as more as a nostalgic act than anything, right?
So it's all boomers not boomers, it's like 40s.
Gen X,
Gen X.
Maybe some older millennials. Yeah.
Wow.
But so for Drake to appear. But also interesting because I think Drake's new album just came out not too long ago. And a lot of is been getting some headlines also because it's not exactly like what you expect from a hip-hop album.
I see.
Yeah, so maybe he's trying to reach to a slightly different audience this time as well. Yeah.
Oh, but that's cool. Interesting. That's cool, man. Cool. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is the midweek episode, and we will talk to you towards the end of the week. Bye-bye.